Ankalaev is good, man. That guy's really good. He's fucking huge, man. Yeah. It's the opposite thing, right? He's cutting a ton of weight. Every time I interview him, I'm like, how? Yeah. You're enormous. He looks like a heavyweight. Yeah. And he is a heavyweight when he fights. I mean, he's over 205 for sure. Yeah, these guys, they blow up. And I think because of that, you have this, you have speed, and not just speed of the strikes, but the way you move in and out.
I don't understand why everyone continues to group Ankalaev in the Dagestani wrestler kind of a fighter. He's not. He's not. He's his own type of Dagestani fighter that loves to strike, that loves to pick people apart and get them out of there.
And his right hand is more powerful, but he just doesn't land it as often that way. You know, his frame's different too.
Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira are all set to face each other for the second time in a light heavyweight clash at UFC 320. The fans are excited to witness this rematch, and to further increase anticipation, Joe Rogan has shared his breakdown of this fight. Joe Rogan praises Magomed Ankalaev for his technical performance against one of the scariest fighters in the division. He highlights that while it wasn't a spectacular knockout like many of Alex Pereira's finishes, Ankalaev looked sharp on his feet and controlled the fight effectively. Rogan emphasizes that the upcoming light heavyweight title fight is a major event, noting Pereira's dangerous knockout power and Ankalaev's consistent ability to compete at the highest level against top contenders.
Ankalaev just did a fantastic job of shutting down the scariest guy in the division. They didn't like it because it wasn't like some crazy result and a giant knockout like you get in most Pereira fights, but it was so technical. It was a good fight. You know, he looked good on the feet. That guy's really good. But that's a big fight. Main event, light heavyweight title. I'm pumped. Ankalaev's knocked a lot of people out. We always look at Pereira's knockouts, but God, when he gets on his back, you're in such danger. Like nobody else in the division. It's weird. Ankalaev has knocked out some of the best guys in the division, and he only lost one time. If you look at his performances, the guy's not had a bad performance. Like there's not one fight that was boring. There's not one fight where he wasn't trying to win. Right, he's fighting top contenders. He's fighting top guys. Yeah, he's a fucking animal.
Meanwhile, Kamaru Usman challenges the notion that Magomed Ankalaev is a typical Dagestani wrestler. He explains that Ankalaev is a unique fighter who prefers striking and picking opponents apart rather than relying solely on takedowns. Usman notes that Ankalaev struggled with takedowns against Pereira in their first fight and emphasizes that Ankalaev strategically conserves energy while showcasing his seasoned striking skills.
I don't understand why everyone continues to group Ankalaev in the Dagestani wrestler kind of a fighter. He's not. He's not. He's his own type of Dagestani fighter that loves to strike, that loves to pick people apart and get them out of there. That is who Magomed Ankalaev is. He's not the Dagestani wrestler that's gonna come in there, level change, show you level changes, take you down and just beat your face down while you're down in there. He's not that guy. We saw him struggle to take Pereira down the first fight. That's not the case. That's not what's gonna happen here. He's not. Ankalaev is very, very good and seasoned striker, to where this is where he likes to be. This is where he's been for years now. This is where he likes to conserve his energy. This is him, because he also understands that by giving these continuous takedown attempts, I'm gonna get tired as well. And so I don't think we're gonna see that. I think they're both going to stand there and they're both going to go to war.
Kamaru Usman also defends Magomed Ankalaev after Din Thomas suggested trading him for Dakota Dacheva from the PFL. Usman acknowledges Dacheva's talent but insists Ankalaev as a champion shouldn't be talked about that way. He stresses respect for Ankalaev and jokingly warns Thomas that they'll settle the matter in person, making it clear he won't let anyone disrespect his teammate.
I do think that would be a good addition to the UFC. Whenever should that time arise and present itself, I do think the UFC would be interested in her. But of course, right now she's under contract with the PFL. She's doing phenomenal things there, so we give her props and we let her stay there. But to say that you should trade a champion like Magomed Ankalaev, Dean Thomas, me and you need to wrestle. Next time I see you, we wrestling. All right, Unc to nephew, we gonna wrestle, because I don't like what you said that. Don't talk about my boy Ankalaev like that, bro. All right, Yo, Henry, we're gonna let him slide until we see him in person and we can run up on him.
On the other hand, Magomed Ankalaev reveals plans to move up to heavyweight after a few more title defenses. He says gaining weight is easy for him, reaching 110 kgs quickly, and after a couple more fights at light heavyweight, he intends to make the jump to the heavier division. Magomed Ankalaev said, "Yes, heavyweight is definitely in my future plans. The weight is going up easily. I get to 110 kgs quickly, maybe a couple more fights, after that I'll definitely move up." However, Dricus du Plessis predicts Alex Pereira will reclaim the light heavyweight title from Magomed Ankalaev. He highlights that Pereira's striking has never been the issue, but the clinch exchanges cause difficulties. Du Plessis expects Pereira to adapt and handle those situations better in the rematch.
Do you think there's actually more pressure on Pereira here?
I think what's going to happen here is, he's coming to prove a point. And like you say, he's not a young guy anymore. He's nearing the end of his career. So it's going to be exciting to see what he does after this, regardless of the outcome. I honestly feel the way I saw him in training, the stuff that I saw, he looks sharper. It looks, like I said, just more intense. But the striking was never the problem. The striking was never the problem for him. It's the fact that he got smothered. And for a striker, that is not so hard to, I think he has the right people around. That's not going to be so hard to start and figure out, this is how I don't get smothered. Learn to fight in that clinch situation, because he has the elbows, he has the knees, he has all that. So he's going to need to keep his back off the fence. And I do believe that they've spent enough time on working on that. And him taking some time away from the sport was good for him. Sometimes you need to do that to get that reset and get that hunger back. I really don't see this fight going the distance this time. But I'm putting my money on Pereira to claim the title. I have to go with him.
Alex Pereira appreciates Dricus du Plessis backing him to beat Magomed Ankalaev. He praises du Plessis as an important figure in MMA and values hearing his perspective.
Dricus du Plessis, he was on a video this morning and he was actually very complimentary of you. He was asked about the winner this weekend. He said he's picking you. He complimented your team. He said he thinks the team around you is going to be able to make the adjustments necessary to win this fight. He thinks the time off was good for you. Wanted to know your thoughts on that and if you had a message back for Dricus.
Não, só agradecer pelas palavras, né, que é um cara também que tem importância no meio do MMA, da arte marcial. Então sempre bom estar escutando coisas assim e bom ver o ponto de vista dele do que pode acontecer.
I just have to say thanks to him. He's an important guy in MMA too. He's a guy that has done a lot, and it's good to hear his point of view.
So is there still a chance that we see the two of them one day?
Tem a chance você e o Dricus algum dia?
Possível, né? Possível.
It's possible.
Meanwhile, Alex Pereira brushes off Magomed Ankalaev's coach, calling him an old kickboxer without true knockout power. He says he doesn't pay attention to his opponent's hype or videos, focusing only on his own preparation. Pereira adds that he's confident Ankalaev's camp will be in for a surprise when they face him in the octagon.
Did you see on the countdown his coach was saying he's not impressed with your speed and you don't have power, and you have a powerful punch but you don't have the ability to just put someone away? Do you think he believes that, or is that just him kind of building up his fighter?
Com certeza.
For sure, it's just talk. He saw it in my fight with Ankalaev, but he also saw it in all the other fights. Come on, I mean, even the ref said that in 30 years he'd never seen anything like that. But it's good. Let him think that he'll be in for a surprise. When those videos come out, I skip through it. I don't watch the other guy. I don't watch any of his stuff. I watch what I'm doing. I'll watch my fight with him, but I don't want to hear about what he's doing. I don't want to see what he's doing. I swear that I don't watch it.
Earlier, Magomed Ankalaev's coach downplayed Alex Pereira's skills, describing him as a predictable and slower kickboxer whose knockout power was overrated. He expressed confidence that Ankalaev could outstrike Pereira if needed, believing his fighter had the tools to control the fight despite Pereira's reputation as a top-level striker. Magomed Ankalaev's coach said, "In wrestling, he cannot surprise with anything. His technique is standard, his strikes are standard, he's an old kickboxer. He has no speed. Alex has a punch, but not the kind that can really knock you out. And I tell everyone if Magomed opens up, he'll surprise everyone and can even outplay, in pure stand-up, a better striker than Alex Pereira." Dustin Poirier also believes Alex Pereira will not let Magomed Ankalaev escape in the rematch. He feels Pereira's hunger to reclaim the belt and prove himself again pushes him to find the finishing blow, likely ending the fight by knockout.
You said you think Alex is a good underdog value pick. Tell me why. Why do you think he wins this fight? I just think he's danced with this guy before. He wants that title back, and he wants to win. You know, he wants revenge, and he wants to show that that wasn't him in the last fight. There's a lot of reasons why, and I just feel like he's too dangerous of a fighter to go in there and not find that shot this fight.
You think you see it inside the distance knockout?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a TKO or a KO inside the distance.
However, Tom Aspinall points out that Alex Pereira had favorable matchups leading up to Magomed Ankalaev. He says that while Ankalaev didn't shoot for many takedowns in their first meeting, the constant threat of wrestling makes him a completely different challenge. Aspinall believes the stylistic edge makes Ankalaev stand out compared to Pereira's past opponents.
I think the matchups were quite favorable to him up until this point. I think the threat that Ankalaev brings in, him being a southpaw, him controlling the range really well, and him just with the threat of the takedowns. Even in the first fight, we didn't really see him really go for the takedowns too much, but I think just the threat being there, I think stylistically he's a bad matchup for Pereira, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does it again.
Tom Aspinall highlights one of Magomed Ankalaev's strengths from his first fight with Alex Pereira ahead of their UFC 320 rematch. He points out that Ankalaev excels at positioning his feet correctly, rarely standing square, and using superior octagon control. Aspinall notes that Ankalaev prefers striking when his opponent is against the fence, combining movement, push kicks, and well-timed strikes to maintain dominance.
I'm going to be Ankalaev. So what he does really well, this is something that the commentators and people don't seem to mention a lot, is he always gets his feet in the right place. He's very rarely square on, which would be setting him up for this big left hook. In the first fight, he was constantly here. And something that he does super well is his octagon control. So you won't really see him throwing many strikes from out in the open. When his opponent's back is against the fence, that's when he'll start to dip in between here and going with the strikes and dipping and with his push kicks and all that kind of stuff.
On the other hand, Khabib Nurmagomedov talks about Magomed Ankalaev's rise in the UFC and rates him as one of the greatest fighters to come out of Russia. He highlights Ankalaev's steady progress, noting how his skills continue to evolve and how his abilities position him to reach the very top of the sport.
He is one of the best who ever did in Russia already, and he is keep improving himself, keep climbing on top to be the best who ever do this. No, I really believe he has skills.
Robert Whittaker also considers Magomed Ankalaev a formidable challenge for anyone in the division. He expresses curiosity about how Ankalaev's style will match up against Alex Pereira's striking, and sees their rematch as an intriguing clash between two highly dangerous skill sets.
Long arms, tall, they're all got long arms. Like everybody's 6'3" and above, I don't know.
What about Magomed Ankalaev? He's the champ, we'll see what happens on the weekend against Pereira. How would you see a fight with him going? That would be an interesting one. I feel like he'd love that one. Strategically, it's like a bit of a chess match, right?
Yeah, it would be. He'd be a nightmare. Like, let's see what happens with him and Pereira.
Brendan Schwab backs Alex Pereira in the rematch against Magomed Ankalaev. He highlights that Pereira generates more excitement and resonates more with fans, which benefits the UFC overall. Schwab also emphasizes that Pereira comes into the fight healthier, stronger, and having learned from their first encounter, giving him the perceived advantage, and he hopes Pereira secures the victory.
So I do think Alex has the tools to pull this off, and for the sport and for the longevity of the UFC and for this new Paramount deal, you want Alex to win. And listen, I don't need a guy tweeting and doing all the shit talking and all that stuff. It's just Magomed's style, even though he's looked upon as a grappler, but there's just some disconnect there with the fan base and with the media where Magomed's not a bigger star. I do think we see a very different fight from Alex, being healthy, having the tape study of the first fight. Even though he's injured, he can take a lot from that. I hope he wins. I hope Alex wins.
Meanwhile, Sean O'Malley reviews the first clash between Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira, pointing out how Ankalaev's body shots connected effectively and nearly floored Pereira late in the second round. He notes that although Pereira's knockout power makes him dangerous, he still favors Ankalaev in the rematch.
Ankalaev throws those beautiful shots to the body. He's landed some beautiful shots to the body, some twos to the old tits. it's like you can't, you have to respect Alex Pereira's power, but you also have to be able to willing to get in there and trade. And that's what Ankalaev did. He cracked him good a few times. He almost dropped him at the end of the second, I believe. Then Pereira had a better third, and that was a close fight. I'm kind of leaning towards Ankalaev, but it's hard. Again, it's hard to count someone out, like knock someone out with one punch.
Alex Pereira acknowledges that Carlos Ulberg could be his next opponent at UFC 320. He says it's refreshing to see new talent in the division, noting that he's already faced most of the top fighters. Pereira watched some highlights of Ulberg's recent win and found it technical, but believes it makes sense for Ulberg to step up and face him next.
What did you make of the Carlos Ulberg Dominic Reyes fight?
I didn't watch the whole fight. I saw some of the highlights. I thought it was a pretty technical fight. Yeah, but that was it. There's not much to be said.
Are you happy to see some new blood at the top of the division? Because it seems like guys like you and Yuri and Jamal, Magomedov, you're all fighting each other, and Carlos has kind of now arrived on the scene and has inserted his name into the mix.
For sure, it's good to have a new name, and they've asked me this week about it, and I've obviously fought everyone who's over there in the top, so I would think it makes sense for him to be next.
Recently, Carlos Ulberg confirmed he would serve as the backup for the UFC 320 title fight, ready to step in for either Magomed Ankalaev or Alex Pereira if needed. After his recent win, he revealed he had requested the opportunity directly from Hunter Campbell and had been approved. Ulberg emphasized his drive to make history by potentially competing for a title only a week after his previous fight and insisted he was fully prepared to take the chance.
Speaking to Hunter earlier in the cage, or just after the fight, I told him that, I asked him to fly me to Vegas. He said, sweet, all good, so we're good now, we're going to fly to Vegas. And then I also said, then and there, but I didn't confirm, and I said, I will be the backup for that fight. I'm here to break records, man, and this is what I want to do. I don't think anyone has, from the top of my head is, I don't think anyone has fought a fight and then also the very next weekend fight for the title. That's what I envision. That's what I feel like can happen. So I put it in the air. I said but I just want to be there. I want to be there anyway at first, but then if they can make me the backup, that'd be awesome. If anyone falls out, then I'm there. I'll get the job done.
Carlos Ulberg viewed both Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev as career-defining opportunities. He considered Pereira a global star whose name carried weight, making a victory over him especially significant. At the same time, he respected Ankalaev's dominance over elite opponents and saw him as an equally important challenge. Ulberg emphasized that achieving greatness required defeating the toughest fighters, and he already believed he was one others would need to beat.
It'd be massive for sure. Fighting Pereira will be historical, massive. He's got a big following. Everyone loves the guy, and finishing someone like him would be awesome or fighting someone like him would be great on its own. But then when you look at Ankalaev, who's been dominant and he's also beaten Pereira. You beat someone like him, it just means you're at the top. It means no one can touch you. And that's what I want. I want to make sure I beat the best. So if you want to be the best, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And right now, I'm the man.
Last one from me.
I don't even have a title. I'm the man.
Meanwhile, Alex Pereira explains that his rivalry with Magomed Ankalaev can be compared to his history with Israel Adesanya. He emphasizes that beating Adesanya was unmatched due to their shared past in kickboxing and the depth of their history. Pereira adds that true rivalries come from experience and background, not just promotion or animosity, and feels Ankalaev is approaching it the wrong way.
It's probably a better question for after the fight, but do you think this would be the most satisfying of your 3 title wins, like even more so than beating Izzy?
Não, acho que não.
I don't think so. Yeah, nothing compares to that win over Adesanya, with the whole history in kickboxing, everything that went through. And, a lot of people sometimes think that, to promote a fight, you just got to say a lot of things and have this animosity, and that's not what it is. You got to have that history, that background, and so he's doing it all wrong.
Furthermore, Alex Pereira reflects that even 7 months between his 2 fights were exactly what he needed. He explains that he's always been active, never unemployed, and constantly working, but the break allowed his body to recover and adapt. Pereira describes the period as a cumulative benefit, helping him stay sharp and ready for the rematch. Alex Pereira said, "Ever since I was younger, I started working. I've never been unemployed, I've always been doing something. And I just felt like I needed to stay active. I needed to just continue working, but it was a cumulative effect. My body started aging. Maybe these 7 months between these two fights were the best thing that I needed to do." Meanwhile, Mandel Nalo considers the fight uncertain but leans toward Ankalaev. He points out that Ankalaev controlled their first matchup and doubts Pereira has changed significantly. While acknowledging Pereira's knockout power, Nalo suggests a more focused training camp could help him, yet Ankalaev still holds the advantage based on their initial encounter. Bantamweight Santiago Luna believes Ankalaev has a style that Pereira struggles to overcome. He highlights Ankalaev's combination of pressure, heavy strikes, and cage grappling, which gradually wears opponents down. Luna expects Ankalaev to follow a similar approach, adding wrestling to further control Pereira. And that concludes today's video. Let us know your thoughts on this matchup in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates and upcoming UFC fights.